All right, Shalom. First off, hold and start up with saying all praises, honor, and glory is due unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakadash. All praises to the world calls God, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem meaning in the name of Yahushai, being the name of the only begotten Son. Also want to say double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Tazabah in the Great Millstone, Arizona camp, Lord will, with another video to edify. And I wanted to go in this situation with the Ukraine and how these tensions are mounting up, right? These things are being more and more prevalent, there's more and more things happening, big moves as far as scripture go, big moves as far as World War III goes. And it's to the point where a lot of people are shrugging these things off, right? It's to the point where not enough people, especially people in the States, are not taking it serious. And and this is a very drastic things that are happening. Like, this is war on all fronts, right? So let me get a few scriptures and we'll get in some of these articles, right? So this is a Second Ezra, or not Second Ezra. Oh yeah, I'll go to Second Ezra first. Second Ezra 9:1 says, and he answered me then and said, measure the time, thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass which I have told thee before, thou shalt understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Right? Now, some of the signs it goes over, right? And really the measuring and how you measure the time diligently in itself is you go through the scriptures and you look into the scriptures, you go through the breakdowns, and then you look out into the world and say, you know what, are these things happening? You'll understand that the Lord is at work, right? So this is Matthew 24:6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, right? See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. So these wars and these rumors of the war, these nations coming up against each other, are all happening right now, right? You can't get away from these things. These things are prevalent. Now, going into the situation with, Russia, the Ukraine, the EU, right, America, there's a lot of moving pieces with it. There's a lot of things that play into it. And a big thing is aid, right? Aid. When you give a country aid, right, you're giving them a means to fight. Basically, you're going into the fight with them. And that's what Russia's seeing from the U.S. That's what the global conspiracy, where the U.S. is just shelling them out money, right? And for them to basically keep Russia out of their borders, to not give in to the pressure and just keep them off of their border, because that would mean that, those European nations could easily come in, set up shop right on Russia's border, and bring the fight to them, right? Without without anything to hold them up. And the U.S. is also using sanctions, which Russia really doesn't care about, which is prophecy as well, because it said they should not regard silver nor thy gold, right? Now, let me go to Ezekiel 38:1. It says, and the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, when you go to the biblical map, it shows you right here, right? Right? Gog and Magog would go into Russia. The chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right? And then it goes into who? Gomer and Togomar, which is Turkey. Iran, which is Persia. Libya and Ethiopia, which are Libya and Ethiopia even today, right? So these are major players in prophecy, and they're all being protected by Russia. They're all being shelled out protection through Russia, right? It says, and say, thus say Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, right? And when you really think about this, hooks into thy jaw, right? When it's talking about putting hooks into thy jaw, when you pull the jaw somewhere, the rest of the head and the body follows, right? And that's exactly what's happening. The Lord is making the so-called white man do things through NATO and the EU, through American pressure, that is doing nothing but causing Russia to wake up that old bear mentality, right? Old USSR mentality, right? Which was a war machine. They were beasts, right? And it's waking that back up in them, right? And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords, right? So everybody, they're going to be equipped. And this is why you have nations having S-400s, right? S-500s, S-600s, S-700s, missile systems, all being supplied by Russia. This is why you have military pacts, financial pacts between Russia and all these other nations that aren't a part of NATO and the EU, because for such a long time, those countries within NATO and the EU were able to bully basically all these nations that Russia ends up to being allied with in the scriptures and in the world today, right? Because what do they make up? The BRICS nations, right? Now it says Persia, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, with them all. It says all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, right? Gomer. Let's go back to that biblical map. There was a better one I had here, man. I have it because it just really had it right there, right here, right? Gomer going to Turkey and Syria, right? All his bands in the house of Togarmah. It says of the north quarters and all his bands, many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them, right? And this is exactly what's happening. So let's go into some of this news, and Lord, I can get some more precepts in this news, be edifying, right? So this is some of the things that's been happening. Russia announces deployment of over 140 warships, some to Black Sea after Biden warning. It says Russia announced on Thursday the deployment of 140 combat and supply ships, over 50 aircraft, 1,000 pieces of military equipment, and 10,000 military servicemen. The Russian Defense Ministry said the Russian Navy will have a series of exercises in all zones of responsibility, right? What are some of the zones of responsibility in war? You have your infantry, you got your guards, you got the real refillers. This is an exercise on combat readiness, right? How fast you can move your things to here and there, how fast you can eliminate a target and get your next orders and move on. This is military readiness. It says from January to February, right? So this is something that's cooking up. Now, when they go to the Black Sea, let's go here. I think it has it right here. Yeah, this is a good map to see it. All right, so the Black Sea, where you have Russia, right? And what other players do you have in the Black Sea? Bulgaria, right? This is another strategic post. They can go through that strait right there between Turkey, Bulgaria, and Thessalonica, right? This is big. This is big time. These are things that are being cooked up, right? And mind you, when they go to the Black Sea like that, right? Mind you, when they go to the Black Sea like that, where are they going within the Black Sea? They're cutting off some of that territory that the U.S. is trying to encroach on. Hey, over here, right up in here, this area right here, right under Georgia, Russia. That is where, you know, you get a better map because it's all blurry right there. There we go. Right. You have Kazakhstan right there. And on the other side, you wanted them to get out of Armenia. Right. You got Turkey right there, which is a place that really has deals with Russia, but they're trying to be a NATO partner just because that money that comes with it. Right. So these are things that are being cooked up, right? Let's go down on these articles I got. Let's see. So things are being prepared, right? Where's it at? So when we read the scriptures before, this is part of the hooks in the jaw, right? It says U.S. NATO rule out halt to expansion, reject Russian demands, right? It says Washington. It says the United States and NATO on Friday roundly rejected the Russian demands that the alliance not admit new members amid growing concerns that Russia may invade Ukraine, which appears to join the alliance. It says Secretary of State Antony Blinken and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russia would have no say over who should be allowed to join the bloc, right? Which, when you have something like that where your enemies are encroaching on your border, right? They're gonna stop that block, right? They're gonna stop that move through what? Invasion. It says, and they warned Russia of a forceful response to any further military intervention in Ukraine, which Russia was invited into the Ukraine for intervention, right? So, if I'm getting it right, it's Ukraine and Kazakhstan. Russia was invited into Kazakhstan for intervention, and they had something to say on that, right? Now, let's get some more scriptures. Let's get some more articles real quick. Here we go. It says, UK sends 30 elite soldiers to Ukraine amid fears of war with Russia. It says, a team of 30 elite British military personnel has been deployed to Ukraine to train its armed forces in the use of anti-tank weapons gifted by London to the Ukraine, says UK TV channel Sky News has reported. According to the outlet, 30 members of the Ranger Regiment, which was formed late last year as part of a new special operations brigade, landed in Kiev this week alongside 2,000 units of anti-tank missile launchers, right? Which Russia has a shit ton of tanks, so there's a reason why they gave them this military equipment, right? There's a reason why they're training them up with that particular military equipment. It says Britain's donation of weapons comes as tensions remain high on the border between Russia and Ukraine. Moscow is accused of deploying 100,000 troops to the frontier, with Western media outlets and officials suggesting a military incursion is imminent. It says the Kremlin has repeatedly denied plans to invade the Ukraine, right? So these are things that's happening. All these pieces are moving around, right? The Lord is playing on his war board, right? That's what you're seeing. The Lord is playing on his war board. Now, we can go to another article. Right? It says, go to it on this break. Come on now. It says Biden considers deploying thousands of U.S. troops to Ukraine report. It says President Joe Biden was considering deploying several thousand U.S. troops to Ukraine Sunday. It says a report said as the State Department ordered the families of all American embassy personnel to leave the country amid heightened fears for a Russian invasion. Biden mulled several military options from Pentagon officials at Camp David Sunday as the administration moved away from a non-provocational strategy, Fox News reported. Right, the options included sending up to 5,000 troops to Eastern Europe, and increasing the military presence by tenfold if Russian President Vladimir Putin acted on his escalating threats to invade eastern Ukraine as diplomatic efforts between Washington and Moscow stalled, according to the network. Right? So these are things that the Lord is moving around these chess pieces, right? But people are walking around and acting as though they have time and that there's nothing to be afraid of, right? But those people over there in the Ukraine are not walking around in that fashion, right? It says anxious Ukrainians react to Biden's prediction on Russian invasion. It says on Wednesday, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, who had been seen skirting the issue for weeks, finally addressed his people via video about rumors of an imminent Russian invasion, with an estimated 100,000 Russian troops all about encircling the country. His country, Zelensky assured his people that despite the boogeyman stories and media sources of mass hysteria promoting the notion that war may start tomorrow, the reality was everything was under control. And the scriptures tell you, let me just get it. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. It says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, they shall not escape. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the situation over there in control. They don't want the people to riot, because if the people start panicking about a war coming, what are they going to do? Hoard the little bit of resources that they have, because all these governments in the world are working on reducing the amount of items out there for the people, right? People will go at each other. People will try to leave the country, right? People might just choose sides right then and there. So this is everything that's happening on a grand scheme, and the word of the Lord is coming to pass. You can't deny these things, right? So this is Amos 3. Amos 3 and 6. It says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people be not afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and Yahweh had not done it? Right? So the Lord is blowing the trumpet, and people are not acting in a perfect way. You people are just legit listening to the trumpet and acting like there's nothing to be prepared for. With all these people that are going out of the U.S. military, within any branch, right? What do you think they're going to do at some point? They're going to do a draft. Right? And women will be a part of the next draft. That they've been putting that in motion for a minute, right? The Lord is with this, right? This is Joel 3 and 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say that I'm strong. Assemble yourselves, come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Right? The Lord is causing all these nations to prepare for war. This is what is happening in two of the biggest nations to be mentioned in World War III, which is prophesied in the book of Revelation 11 and 14, are coming together, right? So Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. The third world's war is coming quickly because Revelation 13 and 2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard going into the Roman Empire, which you can also bring up the revised and rebirthed Roman Empire, which is America. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, going into the end of it, right? The feet is the end of a statue, right? The feet going into the feet of the bear, which is what Russia was known as the bear. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and a dragon gave him his power in his seat and great authority, right? So we're coming down to the time where these big players are doing big things and wars on the horizon. Right? So Lord willing, this is edifying them and say, call law, Yahweh Shemar Shai, Ba'Shem Kakadash, Shalom.